Good evening. Good evening. My name is Sue Roberts, and I'll be your moderator for this evening. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and to the Jewish Community Alliance for hosting this event. There are a few people I'd like to introduce this evening. League of Women co-chairs Sherry Paprocki and Chrissy Hart. And Rhonda Shaw is our candidate host for this evening. Thanks also to Girl Scout Troops 1068 and 2305, and many other volunteers from both the League and the JCA who are helping us on site. Special thanks to JCA's Leslie Kirby and Sam Cohen, who we wouldn't be doing this without them tonight. I also like to make sure that I welcome any current elected members of our community who are not running for office. Are there any elected members of our community here tonight? Okay. So in order to ensure that each speaker is heard and all audience members can hear, we have a few ground rules. Please turn your cell phones on to vibrate. Please avoid conversation or comments while the presenters are speaking. And there are index cards available. I believe they were given one when we came in. If you have a question, please write it on the card and wave it so that one of the Girl Scouts can collect it from you. Because of the way we'll be asking and answering the questions, it would be very helpful if you could at least identify which question you're asking a question about, or which candidate your question is addressed to. We have asked all the candidates and their representatives not to engage in electioneering in this room, which is League of Women Voters policy, so please assist them in respecting this request. Also, we have made every accommodation possible so that tonight's event will be respectful, peaceful, and enriching. In that spirit, please hold your applause until the end of each speaker's presentation. While you may agree or disagree with something a speaker says, please refrain from expressing that opinion during your speech. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. League of Women Voters policy is not to support or oppose any political party or candidate. Occasionally, the League will take a position on ballot issues after careful and thorough research and discussion amongst its members. That is the case for question 1, which you will hear about shortly. We are so pleased that so many members of this community are taking the time to educate themselves about the issues. Tonight, we will hear from candidates running for City Council and the Board of Education, as well as representatives for the 2 ballot initiatives. During this election cycle, only one of the 5 races in Portland is contested. 3-time incumbent Pius Ali and political newcomer Stan Aguirre are competing for an at-large City Council seat. We wish each of them the best of luck in their candidates. The uncontested candidates joining us tonight include Dr. Regina Phillips for City Council District 3, Ms. Sarah Lenz for Portland Board of Education at large, Ms. Jane Sawtell, Portland Board of Education at large, Dr. Julianne Opperman, Portland Board of Education District 3. We at the League acknowledge that this is not an easy time to run for office. We are grateful that the candidates, although uncontested, are willing to speak and listen. If you have not yet joined the League, we respectfully encourage you to do so. Across the country, the League of Women Voters keeps track of statewide and national issues, reminding you by email about the importance of connecting with elected officials over whatever issue is being debated on any given week of the year. Now let's move to work in tonight's program. First, we will discuss question 1. Melissa Murphy is here to represent Save Maine absentee voting. Melissa has been a member of LWV since the 1980s when she moved to Maine after marrying a South Portland native whom she met at the University of Michigan Law School. Melissa practiced law at Clemens Thompson, a Portland law firm for nearly 40 years, advising for-profit and nonprofit real estate owners, developers, and lenders, governance and operational transactional matters before retiring at the end of 2021. Her involvement in the league waxed and waned with the dividends of her legal career and child rearing, but she is a past board member of the Portland area meeting of the voters and LWV education, which she is. Melissa has been an active volunteer at Scarborough as a past member of the Scarborough Housing Alliance and Open Space Committee, and as the employer and a founding board member of Scarborough Education Foundation and Scarborough Baseball District. She currently serves on the board of the Park Danforth, a longtime Portland nonprofit organization that provides housing and services to older adults, and Goodwill Northern New England, a nonprofit social enterprise that helps people achieve their life and work goals. Melissa is passionate about community engagement, including protecting voting rights and encouraging voter participation. One of her favorite LWV activities is registering new voters at naturalization ceremonies and in schools. PowerPoint is not my thing, and she'll soon find out. But thank you all very much for being here. So I think our position is quite clear on question one. It's a voter suppression ballot question. Sue introduced the legal women voters, so I don't need to say much about that, other than being nonpartisan does not mean staying silent. Mission and principles are at stake. That's why we've taken a stand on question one. As you know, question one of your ballot asks if you want to make a number of changes to Maine's elections. That's 27 changes, in fact. We're not going to go over all of them, but we'll highlight some of the most important ones. So let's start with where we are now. In every election, we're in the top few states for voter turnout. The other states at the top with us have the same approach to voting rights. Laws and policies matter a lot. As much as we'd like to believe that we Mainers have a particular strong culture of civic engagement, it's just one piece of the story, and it would be very difficult to maintain that if our laws didn't reflect that culture. In Maine, elections are local. Most states have county or regional election boards. Here are town clerks run the elections with guidance from the Secretary of State. And we, as in we, the League of Women Voters, we run an election observation program and have had hundreds of observers across Maine over the last several years watching election processes. You see a local election official put in a ton of effort into running fair, honest elections. We can say with some certainty that Maine's elections are free, fair, and secure. And where there is room for improvement, the League is always working on it because we care about election security as an important part of a healthy democracy. One of the key pieces of our Maine election process is no excuse absentee voting. And if there's also a little bit of confusion sometimes, because absentee voting means three different ways to vote in Maine. It's voting by mail, absentee ballot. Putting your ballot in a drop box in your outside your town, usually outside your town hall, not always, or early in-person voting. And this is a big part of why we have such high voter turnout. Maine has made sure to make voting as easy and as accessible as possible. Together with same-day registration is one of the best ways we can make sure that everyone who wants to vote is able to. And this is what the question that we're voting on wants to make more difficult. Who does vote absentee? Historically, at least a third of Maine's voters vote absentee. For some elections, it's closer to half. We see in Texas,
statistics later that will indicate that. And there are many reasons that people vote absentee. Convenience, disability, and taking more time to read over the ballot at home and think about the issue for the candidates. How do people vote absentee? As we said, you can vote early and right now until Thursday before the elections. People can request a ballot online or by phone. Or as well as in the mail or in person. And family members, this is very important, family members can help. Seniors and people with disabilities can now sign up to have their absentee ballots mailed to them automatically every election. That sounds good, right? But now there have been multiple attempts to make voting harder. They have heard of the Federal Save Act, President's voting related executive order. And now here in Maine, we have question one that's very similar in outcome or potential outcome as to those voter suppression efforts. So here's the text of the question that you'll see on the ballot, or you may have also seen. The text is very dense, so we're going to break it down. The question starts with, do you want to change Maine election laws to eliminate 2 days of absentee voting? These 2 days would be the Wednesday and Thursday before the election, which are currently the most popular days for people to vote early. Do you want to prohibit requests for absentee ballots by phone or family members? Supporters of question one will tell you that you should still be able to call your town to get a ballot, but that's not the full picture. If question one were to pass, you could call to get an application to get an absentee ballot, an additional step. And one of the things that's a clear strategy here is to put as many steps and barriers as possible between the voter and their abilities to pass their absentee ballots. Do you want to end ongoing absentee voter status for seniors and people with disabilities? This ongoing option for seniors and people with disabilities is a relatively new statutory provision, which this question would eliminate before it really gets started. Do you want to ban prepaid postage on absentee ballot return envelopes? Now, municipalities may provide prepaid postage if they choose. Do you want to limit the number of drop boxes? Drop box locations would be limited in location to outside the registrar's office. So here in the city of Portland, I understand that you have a second drop box available on Canfield Road, and that would have to be removed. So think about wanting to drop your ballot on the city of Portland, you're gonna have to drive in and find a place to park. So we're gonna make it that hard for you to. And then here's the many supporters would like you to focus on, requiring voters to show certain photo ID before voting. It's important though to keep in mind, even if you're not opposed to voter ID, that this requirement would be one of the most restrictive in the country. For example, student IDs and tribal IDs would not be accepted. And also, you're going to have to provide identification to vote absentee. So, how's that going to work? I guess if this passes, we'll find out. But it's, how does the photo ID help identify someone when they're dropping off their ballot at a drop box? So, and then here's the figure. Do you want to change laws to make other changes to our elections? Among these other changes, and I'm not going to go through all 27. I've already got most what we think are the most important. But among these other changes is a requirement that drop boxes be emptied not by our town clerks or by someone with the town clerk or has worked with trusts, but instead by a bipartisan team. So that's going to require motivation and potential issues. So as you can see, there's much more to this question than a voter ID requirement. There's much more at stake. So who's behind this initiative? This is part of a national attack on voting rights, already talked about. The main group is Voter ID for Me. It's backed by a PAC called the Dinner Table, which is supported by Leonard Leo of the Federalist Society, and it's led by GOP Representative Laurel Libby, who is frequently a spokesperson for this issue. Who will be most impacted if the referendum passed? We all will. And here's a laundry list. I guess I'm going longer than I thought I would. So here's a laundry list of who will be impacted. And it is important to remember that 45% of Maine voters did so by absentee 2024, and 62% of Maine voters over 65. We know that Maine's elections are safe and secure. And detected fraud is vanishingly rare. So this question is a solution in search of a problem, which of course leads one to the conclusion there must be another motive. And we believe that motive is voter suppression. Make it as hard as possible. So what can we do about it? We spread the word that these elections are safe and secure, take pride in our strong democracy, and make sure everyone votes no in November. And if you haven't already, please vote no in November to save Maine. Thank you very much. Love it. Are there any questions? Yes.
Thank you, Melissa. Our second speaker will address question 2. Our speaker this evening for question 2 is Rebecca Millett, who retired in 2024 after serving in the Maine legislature for 12 years. She served 8 years as a senator and an additional 2 years in the Maine House of Representatives. Rebecca is currently treasurer of the Maine Gun Safety Coalition. Early on, she received an MBA from the University of Chicago after receiving 2 bachelor degrees from American University. Rebecca is a self-starting professional with a proven record of results-oriented leadership, analytical thinking, strategic planning, effective problem solving, flexibility, and determination. Ms. Black.
One way for the screening month, I just had to share that about a month ago, my stepfather brought over a folder with small clippings and reminded me that mother who was elected first vice president of the corporate board meeting and mother's back in the 70s. Yes, I know. Good, awesome, great. I'm gonna get right into it.
Can you get closer to the mic, please?
I'm just gonna go with this back, it's gonna be fancy, but it's game to be wanting to go into. Anyone have any? I'm trying to get it back to the weekend. Okay. Thanks for your patience, everybody. Technology. So, campaign update, what's our challenge? Here in the United States of America, firearms are now the leading cause of death for American children and teens. Let that say again. Quite stunning, really. Just moved. Okay, sorry. I'm gonna just do this. It's like running itself and don't go wrong. So. Okay. Other states have used extreme risk protection orders to disarm people who threaten mass shootings. Studies of 6 states with ERPOs have found that more than 650 potential mass shootings have been prevented. These types of laws are also effective in preventing suicide. Suicides make up nearly 90% of all gun deaths in Maine, particularly very tragic in our older population. But it doesn't have to be this way. This measure allows families to step in when a loved one is in crisis. And we would add that when people are experiencing a mental health crisis and need help, not easy access to guns, we can get them the help they need without permanently taking away anyone's rights. So here is the question for all of us to read. Very simple, and we're very grateful for that fact. Do you want to allow courts to temporarily prohibit a person from having dangerous weapons if law enforcement, family, or household members show that the person poses a significant danger of causing physical injury to themselves or others? We are hoping that those people, they will take the time to actually read the question, and in our experience, when they do, their answers is of course. So extreme protection orders empower family members and law enforcement to intervene when someone is in crisis. When a person is in crisis and threatening to harm themselves or others, they often exhibit clear warning signs that family members are the first to see. The current law in Maine does not give families a way to take action. Extreme risk protection orders empower families to go directly to a court and temporarily prevent someone whom a court deems dangerous from accessing deadly weapons. I'll take this moment to remind folks that red flag laws or extreme risk protection order laws already exist in 21 other states and have for a very long time, and include the full range of the technical spectrum from Florida, Indiana, Vermont, Massachusetts. So our current law is ineffective and it failed to prevent the tragedy in Lewiston. The gunman's family knew he posed a threat and repeatedly asked the police for help. The Maine's current law did not give the family a way to take action. The state investigation reported that Maine's laws were too burdensome and weak to prevent this tragedy or tragedies like it. In fact, Ann Jordan, who was the executive director for the commission, is now one of our great spokespeople in the campaign. She saw firsthand how it failed and is very eloquently explaining to folks in all forums how that came to be. If this measure had been in place, perhaps one of the many warning signs could have prevented the shooting. Okay, I'm going to try and make this work. Okay, anybody can show this video? Volume.
Then about 2.5 hours with you, and I said I gotta go, because I get up at 4 o'clock every morning. And he said, I have to how you live. I had driven less than a mile. I got a call saying there was a shooting there. I was gone 3 minutes. 3 minutes and his life was over. And he was the father of 5. And mostly everyone knew Robert Hart was not guilty. The very first one to know where he's standing. But Colonel was not allow a family member to start any process. People who are having a mental health crisis need help, not easy access to guns. Maine's laws were too weak to save us son's life. Vote yes on 2 to change them.
I think Arthur speaks very well for what we're trying to pass here in just a very short period of time from now. So it gets me every time I see it. Okay, so if folks would like to learn more about the referendum or get involved, you can go to the website, citycommunityspain.org. And we're still looking for folks willing to make phone calls, go to community events. We are actually having an interfaith event up in Lewiston in commemoration of the 2-year anniversary. It's coming Saturday, 3 o'clock. I don't remember the name of the church, but if you want to know, think about having it later on. And feel free to write letters to the editor until about the middle of next week, I believe, and then they stop publishing letters to the editor. So I understand we'll take questions later. Right. Thanks, everyone. Sorry for the technical.
Thank you, Ms. Love. We have 2 questions regarding question 1. Here. Go ahead. Okay. The first question is, why do we need a bipartisan group to pick up ballots from the drop box instead of city clerks, as is currently the case, but will change if question 1 passes? What problem is being solved?
Well, we don't think there is one, which is why we'd like you to vote no on that question. I can't imagine the rationale for that, other than that to make sure that your trusted city or town clerk doesn't do something nefarious, which we know they don't do. So you'd have to ask someone who was in support of question 1 to answer that question, because I cannot.
The second question is, how is this allowed to not list the changes in the question on the ballot? Will it be available to voters on the day so that they know what they're voting for or against?
Oh, you mean as far as all the questions, the changes that are made. So it's not atypical for a referendum question to list the most impactful question, parts of the question. There is on the Secretary of State's website, the voter guide, which shows all the changes that are made to the statute. And there is also a summary that was provided by the Attorney General's office explaining what the changes are. So that is, this is not at all atypical for the question, the way which questions are presented to the meeting. It would be, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 page on the question probably if everything was listed.
Do they put it somewhere?
Yes, on the Secretary of State's website.
No, like when you go to.
No.
You can see it. That
No,
sounds
the
great.
question will be what that paragraph in the presentation.
But usually at the polling site, there's the complete text of the.
There may be, yes. There may be. Yeah, there may be. Thank you for that. Despite being an election observer, I didn't know the answer to that, so thank you. But it is also available on the Secretary of State's website.
One more question. My husband's job prevents him from going to the polls on election day. Currently, I pick up an absentee ballot for him at town hall before the election, which he fills out at home and returns to a box outside town hall. If question one passes, what will he need to do to get a ballot? He cannot go to town hall himself during our open hours.
So he, again, I believe he would be able to call town hall and ask for an application to be mailed to him for the to get an absentee ballot mailed to him. An immediate family member such as the wife, I think, would still be able to pick it up. And would be able to drop the ballot back at city town hall. It would be, you know, there'd be a couple more steps involved. So again, this is an attempt to make voting more difficult. And that would be the result.
Thank you. Are there any other questions about question one or question two? Okay. Thank you very much, Melissa and Rebecca, and we appreciate the time. Okay, now we will hear from the candidates for Portland City Council and School Board. I'll ask them to join me on stage, please. Each candidate this evening has been asked to make a presentation of no more than 5 minutes, highlighting their goals and missions for early public office. After 4 minutes, the candidate will be given a 1-minute warning. At the 5-minute mark, our timekeeper will sound the buzzer to end that presentation. If you have any questions, please write them on the cards and give them to the Girl Scouts. If you could please name the person the question is for, that would be very helpful. Running for office of City Council Member at Large are Mr. Pius Ali and Mr. Sam Hayward. Out of respect for Pius Ali's 3 terms as a City Council member, we have asked him to be our first presenter. A native of Ghana, Councilmember Ali worked as a photojournalist for a range of print publications. He migrated to the U.S., first to New York City, and has called Maine his home since 2002. He lives here with his 2 children. Pius is the founding director of Portland-based Portland Empowered, a program that creates opportunities for students and families to engage in their schoolwork with them to create an equitable learning environment through a racial equity lens. He's worked as a youth and community engagement specialist at the University of Southern Maine's Muskie School of Public Service and has spent the big part of his career focused on community engagement. Prior to joining the Muskie School, Pius worked with the City of Portland's refugee services and spent many summers working as a facilitator for Seeds of Peace, a summer program which builds relationships and leadership skills among youth with regions of conflict. He also worked as the site coordinator for the Peer Leader program at what is now the Opportunity Alliance in Portland, and as an education and community engagement coordinator at the Portland branch of the NAACP. He is the first African-born Muslim American to be elected to public office in Maine, becoming a member of the city's elected Board of Public Education in 2019. He also founded the erstwhile Maine Interfaith Youth Alliance and co-founded the King Fellows, a Portland-based youth group dedicated to creating meaningful opportunities for youth through leadership and civic engagement based on the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Pius is also an alumnus of the Institute for Civic Leadership, known as LIV 360, and in 2015 he was named LIV 360's most distinguished alumnus. He's received other recognition for his work, including the Gerda Haas Award for Excellence in Holocaust and Human Rights Education and Leadership in 2017 by the Holocaust and Human Rights Center in Maine, and the Water Can Award in 2019 from Maine Initiatives. Hi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for organizing this, and JCA, thank you for hosting us. That's all that comes out of my 5 minutes. My name is Pius Ali. As she said, I am from Ghana. I came to the US in 2000 and found myself in Maine after living in New York for 2 years. Since I came to Maine, most of what I've done is around public service. As she said, I currently serve on other things. That bio is not updated. I know that you asked me for a bio, and it took a while. I sent one early this morning. I don't think it got you. I also currently serve on the board of Holocaust and Human Rights Center. I serve on the board of Seeds of Peace, and I serve on the board of GP Corp, representing the city of Portland in that organization. Since I got on the council, most of the work that I've done is around housing. Most of the Portland is facing a lot of housing crisis, and we're working as hard as we can to mitigate that. I also care about people's civil liberties. So I was the councillor that moved forward for City of Portland not to use racial recognition terminology, which eventually became what the state used. The state took what we have in Portland and turned it into a state law. Housing is a very big crisis in Portland, and since I became the chair of the housing committee, we've looked at non-traditional way of building housing, including what we call the co-op housing, and also we spend more than $5 million giving money to individuals who are going to build housing by giving either land or giving them finance through the Introducing Housing Fund. Those of you who live around here, the how we call it, the Dorothy Field is one of the projects that I take the lead in making sure that it happens. We currently launched the Social Housing Committee to look at if social housing is built in Portland, how is that going to look like? It was brought forward by one of my colleagues on the council, but it came to my committee and worked with her and staff to make sure that that happened. Now, the question is, I'm asking you to support me so that I continue the work that I'm doing. I'm not going to be anything different than what I've already stated. I care about housing, I care about the environment, I also care about unhoused people in our community. Recently, we worked with our downtown district to look at a program that has been used somewhere else called the Ambassador Program, where individuals will work with people who are unhoused and help them find services, and also clean the streets in Portland. We have heard from community members, we hear from businesses in downtown, and also heard from people who are visiting Portland. That's why when this initiative was brought to us, I fully supported, and I'm looking forward to see the first set of data that will be brought to us. And if it works, then we'll work with the downtown district to put more money into it to make sure that more people get the help that they need. We have a shelter that is outside our Riverside. When the shelter was brought to the council, I was one of the councillors that said that no, I don't want to bring unhoused people to that far out of the city. However, there was a compromise, and the compromise was that staff will provide transportation so that people who are going to go and stay there overnight will get there without any difficulty. Thank you very much. The time that we live in demands for courageous leadership. Leaders who are not afraid to come forward and speak to what is going on, not only just locally, but at a national level. I was traveling about a month or so ago when I heard that ICE have gone to our school to arrest someone. Immediately I got to work and I contacted my sister and colleague here, Councilor Phillips, and we drafted a resolution saying that we don't want ICE to come to our schools in our areas. Unless those parents have done something that said that our police will also not work with ICE. We have to make sure that that is also included in the language. I have zero minutes, so thank you.
We will be taking questions at the end after all of the speakers have. Also running for city council at large is Mr. Sam Hayborn. With a passion for problem solving, Sam pursued studies in industrial engineering at Cal Polytechnic State University of San Luis Obispo, sharpening his analytical skills and providing him with a systems and human perspective on how people, processes, and policies interact throughout his career. Professionally, his career has spanned technology, entrepreneurship, and civic engagement with a focus on building smarter and more efficient systems. Sam's career has spanned commercial, nonprofit, and government entities. He currently works for a tech company focused on helping software companies become more efficient and effective. Sam was a recent graduate of the Portland Leadership Program, where he saw an opportunity to provide his unique skill sets to the challenges that face Portland. He has worked as a multiple-time mentor at the Root Institute, guiding the next generation of leaders. He is a graduate of multiple leadership development programs and holds certifications in change management, and process improvement. Sam is a recognized people developer and currently serves on his advisory board at his alma mater. He brings a depth of entrepreneurship, innovation, and new ways of working through each of his interactions. Sam is also committed to his hometown of Portland through community engagement, which includes a broad range of involvement in civic and neighborhood groups.
First off, thank you to the league and thank you to the JC for hosting this important conversation. Hi, my name is Sam Hayborn. I'm running for city council at large for the city of Portland because Portland deserves better. You said it again, Portland deserves better. My father, a school teacher, my mother, a paralegal, always taught me, don't complain about something, do something. So I'm doing something. I'm wanting to bring my talents, skills, and abilities to the city of Portland through leadership as your next at-large city council member. I built my platform based on 3 key principles. Everyone deserves a home. Everyone deserves a city that is safe for them. And everyone deserves a city that works for them. We face challenges with affordability with recent tax increases that all here as homeowners hit us. We face challenges with housing. We face challenges to the city, and it takes principled problem solving based on facts and policy, not politics, to bring solutions. Everyone deserves a home. We have barriers in our city that we've self-imposed that causes us to cost more money to build the same property in Portland as it does in the surrounding communities of the West Coast. We have policies that can stop us from being able to build housing that fits the characters of our neighborhoods. We remove those, and we also need to set goals. We do not have a specific goal for the number of housing units that we need within our community, so we don't know whether or not we are hitting our objectives. When it comes to safety, going out and attending over 150 community organizations and conversations, I learned a lot about safety throughout this campaign. On the peninsula, it means things like discarding needles in the street. And out off the peninsula, it means things like avoiding crashes, line charges, and zero traffic. There are small things we can do and big things we can do. The other day, I was having a conversation with some housing individuals, and they were talking about safety issues out of the home services. Those are the types of things that we need to handle, so everyone feels safe in our state. Further to that, we need a city that actually works for us. Now, for me, that's about looking at the data, the facts, and the information. When I was out on the campaign trail, individuals were talking to me about building permit and how long it takes in our city to have adjustments their own personal homes, what rules do they face, and what obstacles do they face. So, if I will Freedom of Access Act to get all of the data, 4,000 pages of data. As a city council member, I want to work with our staff to be able to tackle the problems associated with the city that doesn't quite work for us. It's also small things, like the fact that I met a young gentleman whose parents owned his car, but because of city policies, they were unable to register their car for a neighborhood parking lot. These types of things means that our city doesn't work for us. And then let's not even talk about our tax bill. 25% increase in city spending in the last 5 years, 7% in the last year alone. I'd love to be able to spend 25% more money. We need to get smarter about our allocation of resources and split between the like to haves, the must haves, so we can ensure that we can have an affordable city for our residents. Now, we need to get really into the basics. It's not about big programs, it's about doing the little things that truly matter to our citizens. Now, I've been out into many community conversations, and overwhelmingly, I hear from citizens, we're frustrated, we're annoyed, and we need better. And my slogan is, Portland deserves better. I hope you'll agree with me that Portland does deserve better. And on November 4th, 2025, you will vote Sam Mayborn for City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Okay. Next is Dr. Regina Phillips. Dr. Regina Phillips is an unopposed incumbent for District 3C in the City Council. Dr. Phillips is a 9th-generation Black male. She previously worked for the Westbrook School Department as an Equity Resource Coordinator and Grants and Community Engagement Coordinator, and at the City of Portland Social Services Division as the Program Manager of Refugee Services and Family Shelter Programs. Dr. Phillips was also an adjunct professor at the Universities of New England and Southern Maine. In 2017, Dr. Phillips co-founded Cross-Cultural Community Services with 2 friends, and they provide EDI training and address health disparities for BIPOC members. Dr. Phillips is a longtime member of the Greater Portland NAACP branch. She has a Master of Social Work from UNE and a Doctor of Social Work from Tulane University.
Good evening. Good evening. How are you?
Well,
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear it. Sorry, I'm a presenter, so I always like to, I always like to do things simply. So, anyway, I'm really grateful to be here. I will say that, I am running unopposed. Running for public office is, it's something that, I think for us running, is something we really have to think about, really truly have to think about. For the first time I ran, there were issues that I wanted to bring forward. I mean, obviously housing being a major one. When I ran 3 years ago, we had encampments, people were in encampments. And now, 3 years later, we have opened up the homeless service center. And we have folks staying there. We opened up 166 Riverside, and we have our individuals staying there as well. So we have done some work in the last 3 years, and they obviously some work before that. But in running for office, it was a difficult decision for me to run again. And the reason why I decided to run again is because I'm not done. I'm not done doing what I set out to do, what I set out for my goals. I love being on the Housing and Economic Development Committee with Councilor Ali. There we literally get to have an idea of what a developer wants and then see it all the way through. And when I say see it all through, not to where it's built, but to see it all through where, actually sometimes, because I was recently able to go over to the Doherty field, the Doherty housing. That was a conversation that was had when I first came on the council. And then to go and watch that whole process and see how that works, it's really telling, to look at that and see that I actually have something to do with that. And so again, the work is not done in looking at our housing situation here in Portland. I actually think we're doing pretty good. Please don't was it, don't misunderstand me, is that how it goes? There is a ton more that we can do, but for somebody who goes to a meeting every 2 weeks or every month and hear about all of the projects that we have going on in the city regarding our housing, it's really incredible. Again, not to a place where everybody will get housing anytime soon, but it's really good to hear about housing projects that are coming up. There's one that's coming out in Congress, I mentioned Doherty, there's one, in my neighborhood, at the Barron Center. We have housing going in downtown. Housing is a constant conversation that we have to have, and I want to continue to be a part of. And so that's why I decided to run again, is because I want to be part of those conversations. And I want to bring those things forward. And I also want us to take a look at our own homes. What are the issues? Mr. Avon mentioned the needles that are downtown. We actually just recently signed an ordinance or not signed an ordinance. We just recently supported the ambassador program downtown. We have to, that's again, an exciting thing for me that I actually had something to do with that. But again, my work is not done. I 100% love being the chair of the Sustainability and Transportation Committee. I'm a social worker. I'm a social worker. Somebody mentioned climate change to me on my climate who. And so it's really, really fascinating to learn about things that are happening in the city, because there's a lot of things happening. I went to my first meeting about the cruise ships. And they said, you know, we want to make sure that the cruise ships, oh Jesus, time does go by really quick. Anyway, you want to make sure that the cruise ships working with the city. I said, can we start at 101? I know nothing about cruise ships. I know nothing about the docks. I know nothing about what happens at the waterfront. Well, guess what? I'm learning now. So I'm glad to when it comes. My goal is to learn as much as I can about this city, to continue to learn as much as I can about this city, to get involved in the things that I want to get involved. One of the things that I like to do, I like to meet people. Invite me to coffee and I am there. You don't even have to pay for my coffee. I'll pay for my own coffee. But I really want to hear from folks that have an issue or that have an idea, because that's something where I feel like I can make a difference. I don't think I have to my phone. What is happening?
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. Now we'll meet the three incumbents who are running unopposed to hold their seats on the Portland Board of Education. First, we will hear from at-large candidate and current Board of Education Chairwoman Sarah Lenz. Ms. Sarah Lenz has almost 20 years of nonprofit experience in equitable and inclusive programming, managing systems and operations, recruiting and developing talent, and formulating growth strategy. Since moving to Portland, Maine, unceded Portland Rocky Land, in 2013, Sarah has worked at numerous mission-driven organizations and completed a master's degree in public policy and nonprofit management. Her current role is in philanthropy, helping Maine funders and nonprofits move toward equity. She is also a program leader with the Groundwater Institute, an organization that teaches people about the history of waste in the United States. Thanks.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here tonight. I also really appreciated the people that were presenting on the questions, so I just wish more people got to hear that. So I'm going to take those morsels off of me and pass them out in the community. I also just want to thank the folks that are on this stage with me, especially those that are in office, because I just see how hard our folks are working every day to make this city even better than it is. And I got into this role because one, I believe in the potential of people, and I love the city of Portland. And I came onto the board in 2022, just about 6 weeks after I came into the board. We experienced the payroll crisis, if you remember that, in the headlines for quite some time, where basically our financial systems kind of crumbled beneath us and weren't able to pay people on time or accurately for a short amount of time. I very quickly after that became chair of the board, and I'm proud what we have accomplished in the 3 years since I've been in this role. Mostly, I'm gonna use my time to talk about kind of what has happened since then and where I see us moving in the next 3 years. But also I just acknowledge that I am one of many who have moved the district from that time in our history. And I'm just entirely grateful to both the staff of the district and all of our community members who have engaged and really pushed us. So since that time, we lost a superintendent and we got a superintendent. We developed a really incredible, but I think it's an incredible and inclusive strategic plan. There's a 5-year plan that is set up to move the district in really positive directions. And so tonight, I just want to hit on what the tenets of that plan is, because it's really the roadmap for us to get us where I think we need to be. The first part of that plan is grounded in equity, so things like really looking at how our historically marginalized students need to be supported to reach their potential. That also includes our adult education populations and our multilingual students. And also our staff, making sure that our staff have what they need to be able to support our students. The second part of that plan is around achievement. So looking at what supports we need to make sure that our students are fluent in literacy and reading strongly by the time that they get into the 3rd grade, that they have the math skills and the history skills that they need to be able to graduate and move into the world as great citizens and hopefully stay in Portland or at least come back to us, and special ed. And then looking outside of academics, the third part of that plan is around the whole student. So making sure that they know what it means to be respectful and empathetic and how to show up on the playground in the classroom. And making sure that our students have opportunities, like the opportunity to be in a swim club or to play baseball or be in a chess club. Making sure that we have those opportunities and connections into the community so that we feel connected and inspired. The fourth part is our people. So really taking care of our staff, making sure that we have really great recruitment strategies, that we pay competitively, that we have great benefits, and that staff are onboarded and supported so that they want to stay in our district. And finally, systems, which is a big one that we've been working on for the last 3 years. We have really rebuilt our entire financial operation. We have also rebuilt and really solidified a lot of things that are happening in HR, technology. We've built a data team so we can look and see how students are performing and where the gaps are within what we're providing so that we can move resources around. And you know, I think the last thing that I'll say is, again, we can't do any of this without our community. So the board is really committed to doing community listening sessions and being in the community as much as possible. So I just encourage you to reach out to us with any thoughts that you have, because your solutions and thoughts really do make us stronger. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Lemons. Next up is incumbent for at-large Board of Education is James Sawtelle. Ms. James Quinn Sawtelle is a recently retired educator with 30 years of experience working K-12 as a Portland Public Schools music teacher. Originally from Monmouth, Maine, she was born into a family of educators with generations of school experience at all levels. Outside of the family business, as she calls public education, Jane is an active working musician, performing with ensembles including the Cascade Wind Symphony, the Ideal Maine Social Aid and Sanctuary Band, and Island Beats Steel Can Band. A long-time distance walker with several marathons under her belt. Upon retirement, she has also discovered she really enjoys going to the gym to pick up heavy things and put them down again. Jane loves all kinds of furry and feathered animals and currently lives with 2 cranky cats and a slightly famous dog, who is known throughout the Deering Center for his rather unique physique. She welcomes hearing from young people and adults alike about their concerns and ideas, and is excited to collaborate on innovative projects to keep Portland schools great for all students.
Thank you. It's interesting growing up, you know, like tiny little one with me, my son likes to say, the motto is all 17 of us are better than you. That I had a seventh grade teacher who was very active in the League of Women Voters. That was 1974, when we were in seventh and eighth grade, and she talked incessantly about it. And then she came to our 10th high school reunions, that was 1990, with membership cards. And circulated around the room to all of us, in the late 20s, trying to get us to sign up. So I've been hearing that as a long time. I have a young friend who is majoring in folklore in a college in Cambridge, Canada. And she was talking to me probably about a year ago about how many indigenous cultures have a person in their community that is seen as kind of the repository for people's stories, the story keeper. And it really got me thinking about how so often when I was a teacher, kids would come and tell me their stories, or my colleagues would come and tell me their stories. And sometimes they just wanted to be listened to, and sometimes with their permission, they wanted me to repeat their stories to people that would have an effect, make things better. And sometimes they wanted advice on what they should do next and who they should turn to. And I really see that as my role now on the school board. I try to be as accessible as possible. Sarah talked about the community meetings that we've had. It's kind of tricky because I'm really an introvert, but I love to get other people to talk and to share things with me. And it's still true, sometimes they just want to be heard. But in Cleveland, people need to know who they can turn to at the school department to affect change. Where can they get answers? And that is becoming kind of my big goal. We've had a lot of restructuring, there are a lot of new faces. When I was a teacher, there was a person who I played in the saxophone quartet with in college. And she was my person. I would just call her and say, like, who can fix this or what can I do? And she'd been there so long, she knew everything. We need more than just one contact person, and so I'm constantly pushing to say, what's this person do? What is this job description? How do we reach out? How can we get help? Toward that end, I have a weekly office hours. I call them online for staff members. I'm always online for half an hour on Thursday mornings, and staff members are welcome to just click on and say hi or ask me questions or ask me, who do I call? And I'll be starting that again, hoping to open that up to constituents and students after these elections are over. I keep a tool of, if you watch any of the school board meetings, I got a student of mine who actually knew before she was even in school. And because of my role as a music teacher, I had her in class for 12 years. 13 years, kindergarten too. And when I retired, they didn't need this little tulip sculpture thing. So I keep that by my microphone to remind me that I'm there for the students, and I'm there for the teachers, and I'm there for my constituents, and I'm there to be a repository and a listener, and hopefully I help her. I'm also really concerned and working hard to close the gap, the distance between the people who are making decisions and making policies, and the students and the staff who need to act on those policies and live with those decisions each and every day. And to make sure that we have the feedback loop, that we ask a lot of questions, that we have surveys, that we have discussions with the people who are affected by those decisions, regardless of their role in the community or in the schools, just so that we know. Do we need to tweak some of these decisions? Do we need to go in a different direction? We're looking forward to serving the full term. I've been there just a few months because I don't like to just serve a partial term. And looking forward to doing that over the next few years. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Sundell. Our final candidate this evening is Dr. Julianne, President of Portland, who is the incumbent candidate representing District 3. Both of Opperman's sons attended Portland Public Schools. Nathan Clifford Elementary School, Lincoln Middle, and graduated from Jerry High School. Julianne's education degrees come from Wellesley College, MIT, and USC. For more than 40 years, she has taught science at the high school and university levels. Teaching gave Julianne the opportunity to participate in the development of a variety of learning standards, assessment systems, professional development programs, and professional evaluation systems. She pursued a doctorate in public policy with a concentration in educational policy and leadership at the Muskie School and learned much about the growth and management of educational institutions throughout the world and in Asia. After retiring from the classroom, she collaborated with the Maine Department of Education and other educational leaders to help write the strategic plan, Teach Maine, strategies to incentivize recruitment and retention of teachers, to expand the diversity of the workforce, to develop and support educational leadership, and to elevate the teaching profession. She enjoys working with the Portland Public School Board to share her expertise so all students can achieve academic excellence and teachers can engage students in a supportive, helpful, and safe environment. Dr. Allen.
Well, you see, I work with some really amazing people. Thank you, being very clear about a lot of different things. But it's really Mrs. Caruso who helped me decide to continue to be on the school board. You mentioned my sons, Paul and Lucas. They went to Nathan Clifford, and Mrs. Caruso was their third grade teacher. Mrs. Caruso understood equity. She offered an excellent, rigorous education to all students who came into the classroom, no matter their gifts, their challenges, their background. I particularly remember one year where she took a group of students who had had a poor second grade experience, very weak, and she took those young people, she nurtured them, she corralled them, she marched them, so that they ended up achieving 2 years of education in one, or just about that for most of them. That's exception. And that was 30 years ago. To be very frank, we have in Portland teachers who do the same. They could, they would, and they do. And those are the people I want to support, and I've tried to support for the last 3 years. Because to support them, we support the students. I guess the one thing that I did in the last few years, or different things, but one thing I feel very strong about is that I've advocated for elementary students in kindergarten to third grade to have really strong, small classes, or at least low student-teacher ratios, because it's proven that will improve their abilities all the way through university. And I've advocated for those teachers to have the time and the materials to do that. Now, in the next few years, I'm interested in looking at how we can improve middle schools. I believe we do not appreciate, we underestimate our students. Their schools have not received the attention of others, and we need to do that to reinforce their strengths in the programming and fix those weaknesses that exist. And I'm not talking just about test scores. That's just one measure of looking at where we've had difficulties, and that's the one that gets the press. But talking to high school students at Portland High, at Erie High, at Cass, Portland Adult, Portland Arts Technical High School, they say they wish they had more math. They wish they had more complex advanced reading so they could have better support in the classes they're taking in high school. And the one that I found particularly interesting, and it was spoken about by one young man in the past, but it was echoed in the other schools. They wish they had learned how to work in middle school. So that's what we're going to help them do. Communicating with students, with teachers, with parents is critical for our understanding of the system, and it maximizes the positive outcomes that we can achieve. It also minimizes the hurtful misunderstandings that can occur sometimes. And so I will continue to visit classrooms, cafeterias, ride the bus, and go to PTO meetings and listen to whoever has a story to tell me. I think you've got a taste from Sarah that Portland Public School District is a complex machine that is constantly striving to fend off entropy. Good outcomes come from a solid strategic plan with a well-organized and responsive structure. The board has that plan, you've heard it, and we are monitoring it. And I'm a high school teacher that can talk for 45 minutes. But I do want to say, there's so much more to do. And we knew that would happen. It was 4 minutes at home. Those other pieces. So I thank you for your time and your energy. And please, if you see something where you can help us, it's supposed to speak up and volunteer. It's really important.
Before we get to questions, could we just have a round of applause for all the We have two questions right now for Mr. Ali and Mr. Aborn. If you have other questions, please do get them to a Girl Scout and get them to me. And the first question, this is for both of you, so you will I wanted to answer it. How will you clean up Congress Street so that the residents can feel safe walking on that once vibrant corridor?
Thank you very much for the individual who has partnership. As I said when I was here, we have a partner with Downtown District. Downtown District is made up of individuals who hold property in downtown. And they put money into this box where they can use it to better downtown. The city alone cannot, how do we call it, solve the problem that we want in downtown. So we partner with him to work on what I call an ambassador program. And we have all said that we asked them the night that we approve it. I did ask them to work with Purple Street and an organization that I work with in the past called Volunteers for America. Both of these two organizations have intense understanding of how to work with people, some of the ones that we have in downtown. The second one is, I think there's a questionnaire that was sent to us by an organization called Portland Voices, and they asked the same question. The answer I gave was that the legal program that's part of the issue that we're having in downtown is unintended consequences of a system that research have shown that it works. So how am I going to solve that particular one? Once we go into next year, we are already working on that. It's going to be part of our plan to look at the data involved, because the city is divided into two. There are groups that say that leave the middle program how it is, and there are groups that are saying that completely remove it. So I believe that we have to look at the data and see where can we meet in the middle so that we continue to do what we do, and then continue to support programs like the ambassador program to make sure that the streets are clean and also work with our partners to make sure that individuals that need the support that they need to get where they are. Individuals in downtown who have become threats, and I have said that in that answer, that I wouldn't mind, that would not be the solution that I will go to, the first solution that I will go to, but individuals who threaten other people to the extent that, it's like threatening. We will work with, law enforcement and the courts to get them the support that they need, because we have support out there, and we will continue to work, the city will continue to provide the resources that nonprofits and other organizations who work with them, you have. Thank you.
So there's been a lot of investment that I have shared there, but I think it comes down to fundamentally the compassionate conversation. The city passed an ordinance that penalized landlords for having vacant spaces. But we didn't have the conversation with the landlords around what they needed more to activate that space. There's a town in the Midwest that decided that they wanted to activate a space. They put concrete benches in the area, which brought the skaters. The skaters brought people who wanted to watch them. This activated the space. The way you make a space come alive is bring people back to the space. Once you start bringing people back to the space, then people start feeling a sense of connection. Remember we talked about more than deserves better. More than deserves better than a solution that doesn't include everyone involved in it. So what I would do, on top of the programs already described, is really think through how can we come together as a community to all of the different stakeholders and constituents. Our program that was suggested, I talked to a couple artists about it. The city didn't really fund it on the other side of it. It's $200 for the stipend for the RTO in the window. If we're serious about it, then we should invest in it. But I'm suggesting we stop, engage in the conversation to be able to get to a solution. There is a series of challenges associated with Farmer Street, but it starts with the conversation. It doesn't start with the problem solving. It needs to have a conversation, the data pulled together, and then the answers to saying, what can we as a city do to help fill those spaces?
The next question is specifically for Councilmember Ali. In a surprise move, the Portland City Council voted to divest from Israel. What was your role in this vote, and are you willing to reverse it?
Thank you very much. The way municipal government works, when a vote is taken, the only way that you can raise that is when the person or what any councillor from the prevailing group, the ones that voted to pass it, can come back at the next meeting to say that I am voting against this. And I'm glad that I've been asked this question because I know there's a lot of conversation going on in the city. One, the day that vote was taken, I was not involved. I was part of the national fellowship called the Hunt Institute that was put together by Governor Hunt, former Governor Hunt, for people who work with education, who are also in elected office. I was gone. The schedule for that fellowship was put together at the beginning of the year. And I have explained it to some friends in Portland that I was not involved. That is one. I was not the one that went to the council, so I was not there, so I didn't vote for it. Thank you.
Okay, I have a question for the school board. You decided who's gonna answer this one. The adult education program and other programs have lost a lot of federal funding. I want to make sure adult ed doesn't fall off the radar. It's a great benefit to the community.
This is the year 25. I Those are the people who had Portland. I know the people in Portland don't get, they have worked hard and tirelessly. And the money that Portland adult get, gets most of it from various grants. And they serve 3,000 students every year. There are 1,000 that are beyond that. I've been ready to go to city council because taxpayers in Portland are generous because of the school. They always have so far passed our school budget, but appreciate everyone's gone up some. But and they can't do it anymore. So I'm gonna turn this question over to the council, is we need to find funding from the state. And we are cheated by the state because of the EPS program, the essential programs and services. Which decides how much money goes out there. It says 55% goes to the city, 55% of the school budgets for the whole state are supported by the state. But ours is 18%. So because of that, the way that program is doing. So yes, I thought that it needs to be part of the budget in the real funding of taxes and from the state.
So thank you for that. I want to second that and then just add a couple of things, which I think that we have actually been doing a much better job bringing adult education under the umbrella of the district, and really making sure that they're involved in conversations and decision making. They are intentionally named in the strategic plan and then have like a mini strategic plan coming up, so that we can figure out how to expand their services. Right now, they have over 1,000% waiting list, and that's because we stopped counting after 1,000. So they are providing incredible resources to our community. And if you ever go and spend time there, you will just hear these beautiful stories about how the skills that they're learning in that building, they take back immediately to their family and the community and the state of Maine at large. So I just say that because we understand what a treasure that is to have in our district and are committed to continuing to support it. And just on the federal funding piece, something that we're regularly doing is just thinking about if our federal funding disappears at any time, how will we replace that? And the good news is that we have healthy reserves in our district. So we have a runway for ourselves if that should happen to happen, but hopefully it doesn't. But the financial pieces is something that we're always thinking about. Great question.
And I have one more question, and unfortunately, the person who answered is not here. However, I think you should hear the question, because it's something that you might want to look up. So here goes. On the Secretary of State's website, is there a detailed description of the process by which a family member or friend appeals to a court to have all firearms removed from the residence of a person deemed to be at risk of shooting themselves or others? Recognition involves urgency. And also, is there a time limit or definition of limits? This may involve firearms to others in the same house. So.
I can kind of answer that question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So my understanding is that that Maine's red flag law is. Right, so my understanding is that Maine's red flag law is exactly the same as the law that addresses domestic violence. So there is due process that involves family members going before a judge, providing evidence for their concerns, and then the judge adjudicating up to a year time period for which the concerned parties' firearms will be removed from their possession. So after a year, it has to be re-appealed, and those firearms would be returned to the individual unless there's another process. And I think the year removal is kind of the de facto response. Oh, yeah, that's sorry, thank you.
Also, very briefly, yes, those details are on the Secretary of State's website and the guide to the election.
Thank you, Adam. Okay. All right, the League of Women Voters encourages all citizens to step forward, campaign for political office, actively support your preferred candidates, show up, ask questions, and harness your right to vote. As a personal note from myself, who have been involved in many municipal elections in multiple states, the participation is so low. And I think if one thing we can get from this evening is understanding the importance these people have in our lives. They make decisions about our everyday lives and about the lives of our children. And I think it's so important. So I would encourage each of us to just talk to one or two other people and just say, you gotta vote in this election. It may not seem important to you, but it's incredibly important to you. People need to participate in municipal elections, so it's my love for them. So we hope that you walk away from this evening's event with a renewed spirit and an active commitment to continue engaging in this country's democracy. I'd like to thank you for participating this evening. Special thanks to the speakers and the candidates who took the time to come, even though you're unchallenged, many of you. I do appreciate it, and I think the audience appreciates it as well. And on behalf of the Portland area chapter of the League of Women Voters and the Jewish Community Alliance, we appreciate your time and your engagement in this election cycle. Thank you for being here. The JCA asks that each of you now make your way to the exit doors, that is, I think, maybe to stay and visit our volunteers. Thank you, everyone.